to do a quick episode on guides. Every once in a while, I like to talk about guides, and although they're not in the spotlight, although they're not out in front in our lives making themselves known, they're always there in the background. And honestly, I get a lot of questions actually about guides. People are always wondering, how is it that I can contact my guide? I get that question fairly consistently. And so I wanted to do a quick episode on contacting your guides. And it's a fairly simple thing to contact your guides. Now, I've answered this possibly a few times in different comment sections, but I really kind of want to make it clear that communicating with your guides isn't some complex operation. Again, they've been there. They are around you and have been around you for your entire life. And it's interesting. I always go back to that experience that I had. And I talked about the experience before when I was talking about communicating with guides, but I want to go over it really quickly because it was such an interesting experience. One of my guides was carrying me, flying me somewhere. We were just flying. Sometimes what I love to do, what I absolutely love to do, is just to ask my guides to just take me somewhere cool. Just, wherever, and they obviously know the coolest places to take you. So I will just let them take control most of the time. Especially nowadays, I just let them do their thing and I just sit back and relax. And I remember my guide appeared to me as a 11 or 12-year-old kid. I mean, he must have been that, freckles, blonde hair, I think I remember. And I remember he said to me, I have known you your whole life. And I just looked at this kid and went, wow, it's interesting. You're a kid and you've known me your whole life. But obviously they can come to you in all kinds of different forms. So they have known you your entire life. They have been around you. They have been there. So they hear you. In fact, I'm 100% sure that when you think the question, how can I communicate with a guide, or even say it out loud, or perhaps even write it in a question, perhaps you're writing to me saying, hey, how is it that I can communicate with my guide? They can hear you. They know what you're saying. It's just difficult for them to communicate with you, for you to hear them. That's the difficult part. The difficult part is for you to hear them. And the reason is fairly simple. We live our lives and we have all of this noise, this exterior noise around us in the world. And, our conscious mind, of course, it's always thinking. And, we're thinking about work, we're thinking about relationships. If you have kids, you're thinking about your kids. We're just thinking about life in general here in this 3D world. And that noise drowns out anything that our guides will say to us, because our guides are talking to us on a certain level. And in order for us to be able to hear them, I guess you could think of this as frequencies. They're talking to us at a certain frequency. And in order for us to be able to hear them, we have to tune out all the noise so that we can hear them. Now, some people will speak to their guides and they can't necessarily hear a voice, but they get a sense of their guides and they can feel certain things. Now, for me, I'm going to tell you, I can hear them. Like, they speak to me with a voice. I have heard them many, many times. Anytime I ask a question, anytime I need something, they reach out to me. And I can hear them as a person. Sometimes they sound differently. Sometimes sometimes it's a woman, sometimes it's a man, sometimes it's a child, sometimes it's an older adult. They can be anyone. But communicating with them is really not the issue, because all you have to do is think about it. Think about it. Have them in your thoughts. Think, I don't know, greet them. Hello, how are you doing? I mean, they'll talk to you just like someone in the street would talk to you. So communicating with them isn't the issue. The issue is being able to put yourself in a state of consciousness where you can hear them. And that may take time for you to be able to do that, to be able to put yourself in that mindset so that you can actually hear their words. But one of the most important things to communicating with your guides and hearing what they have to say is keeping your mind open and clear. This is a very, very important thing. Relaxation, clearing your mind. I have talked before about having a good foundation, about being able to do certain things that help you. Being able to meditate, being able to do these things are very important because it gives you a good foundation. It gives you the ability to quiet your thoughts so that you can hear things coming in. So this is so very, very, very important to being able to communicate with your guides. Now, I want to tell you that once you start to be able to do it, once you start to actually be able to hear them, I kind of have to caution you on this because I've done this. Now, my guides, they answer any question that I have. And I've asked questions before. But this is the thing I believe you kind of have to ask yourself with this. You have to ask yourself, how much am I actually going to be able to understand and retain and bring back to the 3D world? Because for me, that's been the most difficult thing. I could ask my guides, what is the meaning of existence? Why were we created? Or, why are we here? What is the meaning of life? You can ask all these different questions. But this is the thing, and this is what you have to ask yourself. Is that answer going to be so complex that, one, perhaps you're not going to understand what your guide is saying, and two, will you be able to bring it back with you? Because I don't know about those of you who leave your body, the other folks out there that do it, but for me, I begin to forget pretty quickly what the experience was. And you have to kind of keep that in mind. You have to think to yourself, wow, once I come back, I may have moments to write down this wisdom that was given to me by my guides. And so I think you really have to keep all of those things in mind. But you really also, and I want to give this to you. I want to give this last thing to you. I actually didn't know this episode would last as long as it's lasting right now, but I want to give this to you. I really believe that it's a good thing to establish a good relationship with your guides. And that means just sitting down and talking with them. There have been moments where I have come to the point where I didn't even quite leave my body. And I have had, once I reached that in-between state, I've had conversations with my guides before we have talked before. And sometimes it's just good to do that. Sometimes it's just good to have a conversation and to kind of, listen to one another. Mostly for me, I listen to my guides. I just think that they're brilliant, wonderful, beautiful. And the most beautiful thing about them, I have to tell you, and I've said this before, but I will continue to say this, they do love you unconditionally. They love you unconditionally, and they're there no matter what. They are always there. And there may even be times that you're not listening to what they have to say. I think sometimes your guides reach out to you in the form of instincts or giving you warnings of feelings, this doesn't feel right, that kind of thing. You may not even listen to them. Goodness knows I haven't always listened to them. And when I haven't, things have gone really, really wrong. So it is essential to establish a good relationship with your guides. Anyway, if you have any other thoughts or questions about this, please leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for coming on yet another journey with me. And until next time, take care.